Join me on an exciting journey as we delve into the depths of Pokemon Colosseum, a beloved but often overlooked installment in the Pokemon franchise. In this video, we'll explore the game's unique features, discuss what makes it so special, and shed light on the graphical comparisons between it and some of the more recent titles. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Pokemon Colosseum is a strange installment in the Pokemon franchise, released for the Nintendo GameCube in 2003, and unlike traditional Pokemon games, Colosseum takes a darker and more mature approach to its setting. The game follows a former member of the notorious Team Snagem, who embarks on a quest to purify shadow Pokemon and bring down the criminal syndicate known as Cipher. The development of Pokemon Colosseum is very interesting, as the game pushed the boundaries of the franchise's traditional formula. It received positive reviews upon its release, with its darker tone and innovative mechanics captivating players for years to come. The game ended up selling 2.41 million units and placed it at number 9 in the list of top-selling GameCube games. Not too shabby, especially considering that the GameCube as a console itself did not sell too well. With that out of the way, let's talk about the premise. The premise of Pokemon Colosseum sets it apart from other games in the Pokemon franchise. Unlike the traditional games where the player embarks as a Pokemon trainer, and you start by getting your starter from the professor and set forth with the objective to complete the Pokedex, this flips the formula on its head. I've always thought that this game ran an amazing concept because in this one you start off as a bad guy looking for redemption, which is really something that is not explored enough, I feel, in the Pokemon franchise. The story unfolds in the region of Ore, a desolate and harsh land where Pokemon trainers are somewhat scarce. Cipher, a mysterious crime organization, is on a mission to create an army of destructive Pokemon known as Shadow Pokemon. These Shadow Pokemon are captured and artificially corrupted, their hearts closed off to human connection and the ability to feel compassion. The player's task is to rescue these Shadow Pokemon, purify their hearts, and restore them to their natural state. This departure from the traditional Pokemon formula offers a much more mature narrative. Players are thrust into the world of intrigue, betrayal, and redemption as they strive to dismantle Cipher's operations and save all the Shadow Pokemon. Let's briefly discuss some of the features of this game. The Colosseum battles featured in Pokemon Colosseum is obviously a very big part of the game, and it does set itself apart from some of the other Pokemon titles. These battles provide players with intense and strategic gameplay experiences within various arenas. All battles in the game take place within 3D environments, showcasing the Pokemon and their moves in a visually stunning manner. Players participate in battles against other skilled trainers, aiming to outwit their opponents and emerge victorious. Some of the key elements of the battles are that you are against diverse opponents. Colosseum battles feature a wide range of opponents, each with their own unique strategies and different Pokemon lineups. From skilled trainers to Cipher operatives, players encounter different challenging adversaries that require adaptability and careful planning at times. Sometimes you'll run into opponents who will run one type of Pokemon lineup. Other times you'll run into Earthquake Spam or Magnitude Spam, and if you don't have a Pokemon that knows how to fly, or a bird, or anything with levitate, you may find yourself beating your face into your controller. Let's quickly touch on the battle mechanics for those who are not aware. The battles in Pokemon Colosseum utilize the mechanics and rules established within the mainline Pokemon game franchise. Players take turns selecting moves for their Pokemon, considering type matchups, stat boosts, and various strategic elements to gain an advantage. And then at the end of the battle, you receive experience. If you're in a Colosseum battle, then you will usually receive an item as well, which tends to be a teachable move. Let's dig deeper into this game's gimmick though. While Sword and Shield had Dynamaxing, something that I wasn't a huge fan of, Sun and Moon had Z moves, Pokemon Colosseum has Shadow Pokemon, but let's explain the mechanics behind Shadow Pokemon a little bit better. Shadow Pokemon and the purification process are central mechanics to Pokemon Colosseum and add a unique twist to the gameplay and story. They serve as the major driving force behind the protagonist's quests and provide emotional depth to the overall narrative. Shadow Pokemon are Pokemon that have been artificially corrupted by Cipher. These Pokemon have had their hearts closed off, making them devoid of any emotions or loyalty to their trainers. They are used by Cipher as powerful weapons, carrying out their nefarious plans. I won't spoil the plot too hard because I do think that the game itself is worth playing, so there will be no spoilers here. The purification process is key to restoring shadow Pokemon to their normal, non-corrupted state. It involves reopening the hearts of these Pokemon and gradually freeing them from the darkness that envelops them. This process of purification is a central objective in the game for the player. Here's an overview of the purification process and how it works. First, you need to capture a shadow Pokemon. The player's mission is to capture shadow Pokemon from Cipher operatives and trainers who use them in battle. This is done by using a special device known as the Snag Machine, which allows players to capture and control these corrupted Pokemon. That's right, you literally steal other trainers' Pokemon. Downside to this is that you won't be able to go out and explore tall grass or caves to capture random encounters. You'll be restricted to what shadow Pokemon trainers are carrying at the time. Each shadow Pokemon has a purification gauge that measures the degree of corruption. As the player battles with captured shadow Pokemon and shows them care and affection, the gauge gradually is reduced. There are several methods available to purify shadow Pokemon. The players can use items like the Time Flute, which plays a soothing melody that accelerates the purification process. Additionally, keeping shadow Pokemon in the party while traveling or battling with them can also aid in the purification process. As the purification gauge fills up, the shadow Pokemon starts exhibiting signs of reawakening. They begin to display emotions, they basically begin to remember their moves, and they begin to respond better to you in combat. There's nothing quite as rewarding as unlocking your shadow Pokemon and seeing a flood of XP hit them. Once the purification gauge is completely filled, the shadow Pokemon heart will be open. They undergo a transformation, become regular, loyal Pokemon once again, and can freely level up and learn moves like any other Pokemon. If they were at a level where they were locked and they needed to evolve, they will then evolve. The purification process adds an emotional and moral dimension to the game that is not often seen in the franchise, as players strive to save these captive Pokemon from the clutches of Cipher and restore them to their true nature. It encourages players to form bonds with the captured shadow Pokemon, nurture them, and ultimately redeem them from their corrupted state, creating a sense of accomplishment as well as often forcing players to constantly cycle through a variety of different teams, which is what makes the game have somewhat a degree of replayability. Now let's discuss Pokemon Colosseum's legacy. The concept of Pokemon Colosseum was influenced by RPGs such as the Final Fantasy series. When game director Junichi Masuda was asked why the game did not reflect the gameplay of the handheld Pokemon games, he explained, "How players communicate with each other has always been key to the Pokemon game franchise. It's the backbone of all Pokemon game designs. I feel that the handheld systems work better at that than the home-based consoles. It's certainly possible to come up with concepts for the home-based consoles, but we might have to change the core of the game." Essentially, the game was trying to bring a full-fledged Pokemon adventure with graphics that were well ahead of its time, especially considering that it was a 2003 title. If we are to do a quick side-by-side comparison with Pokemon games that are released 20 years later on the Nintendo Switch, you can either come to one of two conclusions. Wow, Pokemon Colosseum was well ahead of its time with amazing graphics, or wow, Game Freak does not care about graphics in 2023. Colosseum was successful enough to spawn a sequel, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which I'm excited to review later on. It's important for us to pay respects to the true first step into the 3D console world for Pokemon, and remember that this was the time where Nintendo dared to present Pokemon in a darker tone. In conclusion, the game provides a unique experience that gamers will struggle to find in the mainline series. Let me know your thoughts and tell me some of your experiences with the Pokemon Colosseum game in the comment section below. That's been it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you like the content, then consider leaving a like, subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.